إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله تعالى من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. إنه من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، له الملك وله الحمد، يحيي ويميت وهو على كل شيء قدير. يا رب لك الحمد أنت نور السماوات والأرض وما فيهن، ولك الحمد أنت قيوم السماوات والأرض وما فيهن، ولك الحمد أنت ملك السماوات والأرض وما فيهن. أنت الحق ووعدك حق ولقاؤك حق والجنة حق والنار حق. وأشهد أن سيدنا محمدًا رسول الله. نشهدك يا ربنا أنه قد بلغ الرسالة وأدى الأمانة ونصح الأمة، فكشف الله تعالى به عن هذه الأمة الغمة، وتركنا على المحجة البيضاء ليلها كنهارها لا يزيغ عنها إلا هالك. فاللهم صل وسلم وزد وبارك على هذا النبي الأمي الأمين وعلى آله وصحبه ومن استنى بسنته وكتفى أثره وسار على دربه إلى يوم الدين. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء، واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم، ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد، فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله، وخير الهدي هدي نبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة في دين الله بدعة. أما بعد، فيقول الله تعالى في كتابه العزيز: كلا بل ران على قلوبهم ما كانوا يكسبون. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, Jummah and Barakah to all of you, inshallah. Today I just want to put one question and try to answer it. Many of us, me and all of you, sometimes he listen to maybe some khutbah, some lecture from high level scholar, or even by himself read some book or listen to some video, and listen about like what is prohibited in Islam and what is acceptable in Islam. And he admits that this thing is wrong and we should refrain from this thing, we should not do this thing. And that kind of feeling, spiritual feeling in his heart while he is in the mosque, mashallah, is very high, he admits. But since he leaves the mosque or leaves that kind of majlis ilm or that kind of advice and he go back to his house, he forget everything. He want to apply whatever he heard. He want to follow what kind of advices he heard. But just he leaves that place and go back his house or his work or whatever, he go back to his first state, first situation. Why? Did anyone ask himself that kind of question? It's very important. Very important. Let's try today in our khutbah just to answer this one question. Is enough, more than enough, inshallah. We as a human, not only body, we have soul, we have nafs, we have heart, we have mind. Your mind to gain knowledge, experience, to build country, to make your business, to be professor, to be whatever. This is your mind. To make like very high level civilization, this is your mind. But your heart is different. Your heart is a place which is responsible to reflect the emotion, the feelings. This is your heart. For example, if we can imagine that our heart is like board, okay? And that board is very sensitive. So whatever you are seeing by your eyes, this board of your heart will reflect the feeling which you are seeing by your eyes. For example, if you are seeing something, you like it, matching with your thinking. The feeling which comes from your heart, we call it love. Whatever you like, this is something you love it. What is responsible for that? Your mind or your heart is your heart, not your mind. Opposite, if you see something against your thinking, against your like desires, is not matching with what you are thinking, it will be hatred. From which place? From your heart. Same if you are doing your best in something and you saw some people also did their best in the same thing, but they became higher than you. I'm not saying everyone, but I'm speaking in general. And whatever I'm saying advice, it's for me first, then you. Don't say Sheikh speak to us and he is not speaking to himself. No. I'm speaking for myself first, then you. Because we are all human. If someone doing his best, and there are some people also doing their best same as him, but they got higher level than him in same thing, what is kind of feeling will reflect from his heart? Nukushimi, jealousy, envy. Same if a person, high position person, whatever his rank, he met some people, but they didn't give him that kind of like dealing or treatment as he expects. What will happen? His heart will reflect that kind of feeling of anger. Who are they to deal with me like this? I'm that person, I am. You know? He will get angry. He will even try to revenge from those people, or low from them, because they didn't put him in the rank he wanted to be. From where all these things, it's coming from your heart. Now we are taking step by step to understand why even after listening to advice or lecture or whatever, and we are admit and convinced 100%, while we go outside the mosque, we can't apply. From the reason of heart. Heart. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the Quran, He said, كَلَّا بَلْ رَانَ عَلَىٰ قُلُوبِهِمْ مَا كَانُوا يَكْسِبُونَ. What is the ran? Ran is the darkness which is surrounding your heart. Darkness. What is that kind of darkness? Darkness of sin. It's not what sin, it's many. That kind of thing is very dangerous and like preventing us to obey the orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let's make it more clear to you. Now, if your heart focus on your job, loving dunya, have a competition with your team, whatever you are thinking about money or kids or your wife or your husband or whatever, your mind also will be thinking like this. So the first coming from your heart, and your heart gives a sign to your mind, and your mind will use maximum ability to obey the heart. Then your heart will be 100% busy of these things, attached with these things, running after these things. Then your heart will be 100% full. If your heart 100% full, where is the place of loving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in that kind of heart? No place. Now try to understand the answer of that question I gave in the beginning of the khutbah. If the heart only attached by that kind of things, 100%, then there will be no such place to love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's very dangerous. Same as a person is doing many sin by sin, his heart become dark more and more and more until darkness surround all his heart. That's we call it in Quran, in Surah Al-Mutaffifin, Ran. كَلَّا بَلْ رَانَ عَلَى قُلُوبِهِمْ مَا كَانُوا يَكْسِبُونَ. What they are doing, that kind of sin. So imagine now if your heart is like a mirror. If you put a mirror in some place which is sunny, what will happen? It will give light. Sunny place, it will give light. If you put the mirror in a place which is dark, what will happen? It will be very dark. Same. If you put your mirror in some like garden, many flowers and many beautiful like flowers, what will happen? The mirror will be very beautiful. Right? It will reflect very beautiful image. This is what we are dealing with us, with like our life here, especially in Japan. Where you are putting yourself, where you are putting your heart, which place? For example, you are putting your heart in the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or in some place which will affect your heart and give that kind of dark image on the mirror. Get my point? That's what I mean from the beginning. Where you are putting your heart, what kind of image you want to reflect on the mirror of your heart? Beautiful one or dark one? That's what we mean from the beginning. Run. Run. Why this thing happening to us as a Muslims? Why some people, their heart became like surrounded by the darkness? Why? Because the person are running after, we call it shahawat in Arabic, his own desires, which is also prohibited. But why he is running after shahawat and he can't stop himself? Because of ghafla. What is the meaning of ghafla? Ghafla means forgetting that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala watching him. Ghafla means forgetting that Allah, Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala watching him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in Quran in Surah Qaf, وَنَحْنُ أَقْرَبُ إِلَيْهِ مِنْ حَبْلِ الْوَرِيدِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is closer to you more than anyone. But of course, you are not taking that kind of verse literally. It's not by himself, a'udhu billah, it's not like that. By his knowledge, by his power, by his ability, by everything, but not by himself. But he is very close to you, more than anyone. But the person, he forgot the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala watching him. That's why he became, astaghfirullah, like a slave of shahawat. Slave of his desires. Dunya, money, whatever. Either something prohibited or not prohibited. Became a slave for these things. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not exists in his mind. So al-ghafla, it means the person forgetting the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you remember the hadith of Sayyidina Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu, hadith Sayyidina Jibreel, the second hadith in Arba'in Nawawiyah, Mal Islam, Mal Iman, Mal Ihsan. When Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salam asked Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, what is Ihsan? He said, أن تعبد الله كأنك تراه فإن لم تكن تراه فإنه يراك. Ihsan means to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as you see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in front of you. But of course, in dunya, we can see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We can see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in hereafter, not in dunya. Then Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam continues the answer. فَإِن لَمْ تَكُنْ تَرَاهُ, it means in dunya, you can see him of course. فَإِنَّهُ يَرَاكَ, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will see you. So if you can reach that kind of level, that you putting in your mind, in your heart, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala watching you in every moment, not in every few minutes, in every moment. If you have that kind of feeling, the ghafla will be taken off. What is the reason for ghafla? Reason of ghafla is al-hafawat. What's the meaning of hafawat in Arabic? Sin. Either minor or major. This is the root of the problem. And this is the answer of our question. This is the answer of our question. The root of the problem, all what we have mentioned around, the heart became surrounded 100% by darkness, and the person, second step, person became a slave of his desires and shahawat, and that happened because of ghafwa, and ghafwa means a person, al-ghafla means a person is away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He forgot the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He forgot that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala watching him. Why this thing happening? Because of sin. Zunub. Even small one. Even a small one. This is the main reason, the first step. And the first step lead you to the second step, third, fourth, and final. Inshallah, we continue how to fix that kind of problem after second khutbah. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله ولي الصالحين وأشهد أن سيدنا محمدًا عبده ورسوله الصادق الوعد الأمين عليه أفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم أما بعد فيا عباد الله أوصيكم ونفسي المذنبة بتقوى الله تعالى. Now we said the main and the roots of the problem is sin. Okay, you would say, Sheikh, we are human, we are not angels. Yes. We are committing sin. Yes, me also. We are human. So how we can fix that kind of relation and get the correct answer of our question today? To whatever I will listen, whatever I will admit that is correct or wrong, I must apply in my life. How to reach that level? Sin, either minor or major. You as a Muslim, you are obliged to make tawbah immediately if you fall in a sin. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the Quran, قُلْ يَا عِبَادِيَ الَّذِينَ أَسْرَفُوا عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ لَا تَقْنَطُوا مِنْ رَحْمَةِ اللَّهِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَغْفِرُ الذُّنُوبَ جَمِيعًا. Whatever you are doing, whatever I'm doing, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opens the gate of tawbah and tell you, come and make tawbah. Repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So how to fix the problem in our maybe 9 or 8 minutes, we can fix inshallah. First, whatever, whenever, again, whatever or whenever you become weak and commit sin, immediately make tawbah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Immediately. Don't wait and say, maybe tomorrow, maybe after tomorrow, maybe last year, after. No. If one of us fall in a sin, immediately make tawbah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with pure intention that you will not go back again to that sin. You say, Sheikh, okay, I did as you said, but I became weak again and I commit the same sin again. I will give you the same advice. Again, make tawbah. From the same sin? Yes, from the same sin. Even if repeated by my side? Yes, even if repeated by your side. What is the criteria? The criteria is if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept your tawbah, even if repeated. The person who commits the sin are two types. A person, he like focus, there is no any weakness point, he was fine, but intentionally made that kind of sin. Okay? This is the first type. Second type, a person who try his best to avoid any ma'asiyah. But in some weakness point, shaitan became stronger than him, his nafs beat him, he fall in the sin without intention. Not intentionally. Not by plan from the beginning. That person, if he falls in that sin, if he make tawbah, and again later he became weak again and put under this word 1,000 line. He became weak. Not have a plan and he want to do and do and do and do. No. He became weak and he couldn't afford and he did that kind of sin again. Again make tawbah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive for him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive for him. And when he makes that kind of tawbah, this dhunub will reduce. Because tawbah means cleaning the sin. If like sayyat, 10 sayyat or 1,000, it will be cleaned. And only hasanat remains. If that thing happen, his relation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will become stronger. By step, gradually, he will realize the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and he is watching him. If that kind of feeling came and became gradually stronger and stronger and stronger, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will guide his feeling that every entertainment in this life, everything he is running after is by the hand of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, even the person when he is making ma'asiyah and enjoying or whatever he has any feeling, that feeling is controlled by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When the servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala realizes that everything controlled by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the happiness which he think he will feel after making sin also coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he will only go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not to that kind of entertainment. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will open his heart. And when the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increases in his heart more and more and more, that kind of being, a'udhu billah, servant of his desires, will be kicked out. As I mentioned, your heart is like a mirror. Like a mirror. That mirror will be only full with the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not full of loving dunya and running after dunya and running after sin or these things. But you will ask me one question. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Quran, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَن يَتَّخِذُ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ أَنْدَادًا يُحِبُّونَهُمْ كَحُبِّ اللَّهِ وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَشَدُّ حُبًّا لِلَّهِ. What does that mean? Those people who are not in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they love the dunya or whatever, same as Allah or even more. A'udhu billah. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the same verse, وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَشَدُّ حُبًّا لِلَّهِ, which means they also love dunya. They also love dunya. They have that kind of, we are not angels. That's what I want to teach you now. We are not angels. What is the thing we need to follow? The love of dunya can't be more than the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You are human. Of course you love like your wife or your kids or money. We are human. It's okay. Islam not saying to you, don't love anything. No. Do whatever you like in halal way. What's the criteria? Love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the highest. Then dunya later. Not like this. Not dunya, then Allah. Then if the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is first, your heart will be always full of light, not darkness. So if that thing happen, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will break that kind of slavery for the servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to not run after dunya. And if that thing happen, ran will be destroyed. What is ran? I mentioned the darkness around the heart. And if the darkness around the heart disappeared and became like light of ta'ah and loving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whenever you will listen to any advice in the mosque or outside the mosque or read by some book, you will implement it. This is the answer of our question. You will implement it. But if opposite, the more the person are committing sin, the more the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in his heart will reduce. And his heart will contain more and more and more darkness. And the more he is not focusing and considering the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give him that kind of punishment that he will be not slave of Allah, he will be slave of his desires. Astaghfirullah al-Azim. And when he becomes a slave of his desires, Ran will surround his heart. I think now it's clear for everyone, inshallah. You know what is the highest and what is the root of the problem. Again, before I finish my khutbah, no matter what happened from your side, immediately make tawbah. No matter what happened from your side, immediately make tawbah. Don't say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not forgive me because I'm making this thing or I'm making this thing. Don't say like this. You are not Allah. Don't say this. He told you in Quran that He will forgive your sin if you really come by your heart. If you really have that kind of intention. If you make isti'anah by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect you from that kind of sins. So now, don't be a person who are a slave of his desires and become a slave to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you realize by yaqeen that everything on the hand of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, everything controlled by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala 100%, as if you working, the boss of the work, he is the person who is giving you the salary, right? So whenever you need money, you ask the boss. Why? Because he is the source of money, right? So you want to make him satisfied on you. You want your relation with that boss be fine, right? Of course it's not the same, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the source of everything. Not only money, everything. So if you want good life, be connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you want to be satisfied from your heart, be connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you want Jannah, be connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not anyone else. And say, Hubb dunya, yes, Hubb dunya coming, no problem. Yes, you love dunya, you love your house, you love what, yes, no problem. But not that level which will be compared by the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first, then Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, then whatever you can think, no problem. But first, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't think any other thing. If your heart attached with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, everything will be fine with you. Otherwise, the answer will be same. I will listen to something. Not only that, actually some people, mashallah, if they listen to some argument or some advice, these themselves can give more evidence more than Shaykh himself. But just going outside, forget everything. So we don't need to be that kind of people, and always remember that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in Quran, قُلْ يَا عِبَادِيَ الَّذِينَ أَسْرَفُوا عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ لَا تَقْنَطُوا مِنْ رَحْمَةِ اللَّهِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَغْفِرُ الذُّنُوبَ جَمِيعًا إِنَّهُ هُوَ الْغَفُورُ الرَّحِيمُ. عباد الله إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما صليت على سيدنا إبراهيم وعلى آل سيدنا إبراهيم، وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما باركت على سيدنا إبراهيم وعلى آل سيدنا إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت، وعافنا فيمن عافيت، وتولنا برحمتك فيمن توليت، وبارك لنا اللهم فيما أعطيت، وقنا واصرف عنا برحمتك شر ما قضيت. اللهم اغفر للمسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات إنك يا ربنا سميع قريب مجيب الدعوات. عباد الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم وأقم الصلاة.